For the latest in strategic affairs, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Click the bell icon for updates.
Hello and welcome to Strat News Global. This week, the entire focus in India was on Prime Minister Narendra Modi's landmark visit to the United States, his first state visit, and of course the outcomes that have been declared in a joint statement by both the sides on Thursday. What are those major outcomes and what should India expect going forward? And what should US and India work together going forward in the next decade is something that I'm going to focus on in this week's Simply Nitin. I'm Nitin Gokulan. So let's look at the optics first. As all of you probably have already seen on Indian television and read in the Indian newspapers, if not Western newspapers and television channels, the Prime Minister was given a rock star welcome. He sort of addressed the joint session of the Congress, had a state welcome at the White House with hundreds of Indian origin Americans present on the South Lawns of White House, and genuinely the American president welcoming him as a statesman, as a prominent world leader, and as a friend in the White House. That, of course, was followed by the business-like, the delegation level talks and the bilateral talks between the two leaders in the White House and otherwise, substantial talks. And going by the declaration in the joint statement, the declarations rather in the joint statement, one is confident to say that the outcomes are very substantial. The focus, of course, is on technology and defense, emerging and future technology, critical high technology that the Americans can provide to India, and genuine partnership in the defense sector remain the central point. But if you look at the high technology, I think we should go over it one by one and talk about it. So the first deliverable that both sides have talked about is strengthening the semiconductor supply chain. And three US companies, Micron Technology, Applied Materials, and Lam Research, have made commitments which are far-reaching and impactful. So what is Micron Technology going to do? It is going to work in collaboration with the India Semiconductor Mission and will invest more than $800 million towards a new 2.75 billion semiconductor assembly and test facility in India. Obviously, India is also putting in some money, more money than the company itself. Similarly, Applied Materials has announced it will build a semiconductor center for commercialization and innovation in India to further strengthen supply chains between the two nations. Remember, semiconductors is a major concern given the reliance on chip manufacturing, on chips in most of the stuff that we do these days. And of course, Lam Research has promised or given a commitment to train up to 60,000 Indian engineers through its Semiverse solution to accelerate India's semiconductor education, which is extremely important, and workforce development goals. The US Semiconductor Industry Association and Indian Electronic Semiconductor Association have also released an interim readiness map or assessment to facilitate long-term strategic development goals between the two ecosystems. And of course, there are critical minerals partnership that has been declared. The United States has welcomed India as the newest partner of the Minerals Security Partnership, which very few people actually come into. Some few nations are allowed to come into this. So that's the other high technology or technology of the future partnership that has been decided. And advanced telecommunication partnership has also been decided between the two countries. They have launched public-private joint task forces, one on the development and deployment of open RAN systems, and advanced telecom research and development in India's Bharat 6G and the US Next G Alliance, which will co-lead this public-private research, which again, going by the fact that India is the fastest growing telecom market and Industry 4.0 needs 5G and 6G technology to enhance efficiency and deliverables. This is going to be a major deliverable on the technology front between the two sides. And the financing is going to come from US International Development Finance Corporation and in partnership with USAID. India and the United States are also teaming up to launch open RAN development in both countries to demonstrate the scalability of this technology, which I think is something very new in the partnership. And looking at space, we should think about the biggest breakthrough, apart from defense, I think, is in the fact that India has been admitted into the Artemis Accords, which was only limited to 7 or 8 nations earlier. But now India has been India joins 26 other countries committed to peaceful, sustainable and transparent cooperation that will enable exploration of the moon, Mars and beyond. NASA will provide advanced training to Indian Space Research Organization, astronauts, and a goal of launching a manned space mission going forward. This change of setting from me standing outside the White House and bringing you this week's Simply Nitin to this hotel room is necessitated by the downpour that suddenly hit Washington DC this morning. There has been a steady drizzle since then, and therefore I am forced to sit in this room and speak to you from here and share some of my thoughts on what are the substantial outcomes in the India-US summit at the President and Prime Minister's level, which ended on Thursday, and a detailed joint statement was issued. So as I was saying, apart from the semiconductor ecosystem development, the space program between NASA and ISRO and Indian private sector in space, and of course the talk about how India will join the Artemis Accord. There are also other substantial outcomes. In defense, for instance, I've spoken elsewhere. I've interviewed Vivek Lal, the chief executive of the General Atomics Global Corporation, also a member of the board of governors of the USIBC, the US India Business Council, where the procurement decision on the MQ-9Bs from General Atomics for the Indian Armed Forces has been decided and was put in the joint statement. And as he has said in a statement, this is taking the India-US defense partnership to the next level, and then allowing knowledge transfer to many of the Indian small companies, big companies, for assembly, for MRO, for even what would I say, the manufacturing of subsystems. All that will start flowing in once the fine print is finalized between Government of India and General Atomics. Right now, there's only the acceptance of necessity for the Indian Armed Forces that they need those 31 MQ-9Bs, or variously called as Sea Guardians, Sky Guardians, Predators, all that. So that was the second item in the defense portfolio. The first was, of course, the breakthrough moment of co-manufacturing, co-developing, or rather co-manufacturing of the F414 jet engine, which will be done by GE, General Electrical rather, and the HAL, which is the Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, state-owned company with long experience in defense and aerospace. This jet engine technology, nearly 80% of it will be transferred to India, and manufacturing will happen there, is the hope. And again, the devil lies in the details. We'll have to wait and watch how it translates. Right now, there is only an MOU, and there will be a lot of back and forth, hard negotiations between the two sides, between governments as well as these two entities, to get maximized effect or get maximized outcome out of this MOU that has been signed. But nonetheless, it is a pivotal moment for India-US defense cooperation, because so far it has been a transactional buyer-seller relationship between US and India in terms of the procurement that India has done. Remember, in the last 15 years or so, India has procured nearly $20 billion worth of defense platforms and equipments from the US. But now it is going beyond that by announcing this F414 engine to be manufactured in India. So that was the second item in the defense portfolio, or the first item. The second was the GA announcement. Third is, of course, the innovation bridge between Indian startups and innovators and US companies and Indian and US startups and innovators, encouraged and handheld by the two governments, called IndusX, of which I was a part of one of those roundtables, where the dominant theme was that if startups can get into the act, innovators can benefit from each other's expertise, and then commercialize that initial proposal, or let's say the idea, then it becomes a success. And one of the points that I made in that roundtable was that, unlike DTTI, the IndusX people who are driving it, or the IndusX people who are guiding the entire process, need to ensure that there is some early success in this initiative, because only then people will be encouraged from both sides to carry on and give a boost to this new initiative. Of course, there is ICET, the Initiative on Critical and Emerging Technologies, which under which rubric actually all these other technologies like quantum, AI, all of them fall. And this was initiated by the leaders in August last year, followed up by two meetings of the National Security Advisors, one in Washington, the other in Delhi, in quick succession, and then finally put in the joint statement. So if you look at one of the key areas of the planning that both sides have is on quantum, advanced computing, and artificial intelligence. India and the US have established a joint Indo-US quantum coordination mechanism to facilitate what they call joint research across both the countries, in private as well as public sector. Also, India's participation in what is called the Quantum Entanglement Exchange and the Quantum Economic Development Consortium, which facilitates exchange of quantum between nations, has been one of the highlights of this joint statement. Additionally, India and the US signed an implanting arrangement to further support joint research on quantum, artificial intelligence, and advanced wireless technologies for building the future technologies through the US-India Science and Technology Endowment Fund of nearly $2 billion. IIT Madras already has a multidisciplinary center for responsible AI, and it will continue to have a role to play, in which there is an AI research center in Bangalore. Google is building models to support over 100 Indian languages and working with the Indian Institute of Science to support open sourcing of speech data for AI models. So again, very good initiative, because that will be the trend going forward, AI and quantum computing. Cutting edge research in science was also agreed upon, and India's Department of Atomic Energy is making $140 million worth of in-kind contribution to the US Department of Energy's Fermi National Lab towards collaborative development of Proton Improvement Plan 2 accelerator for the Long Baseline Neutrino Facility, the first and the largest international research facility on the US soil, according to the joint statement. Of course, IndusX I've spoken about. In the defense partnership, one item that I forgot to mention was more robust defense cooperation. The US and India have advanced steps to operationalize tools that will allow us to increase our defense cooperation, is what the statement says. And towards that end, the agreement to place 3 Indian liaison officers in US commands for the first time has been granted green light. I don't know where they are going to be exactly, but my guess is one of them will be in the Indo-PACOM command in Hawaii, the other in the Central Command, and the third remains to be seen where exactly this liaison officer will be. The security of supply arrangement and reciprocal defense procurement arrangement that will enable the supply of defense goods in the event of unanticipated supply chain disruption has been finalized. The US and India partnership in defense also has a defense industrial cooperation roadmap that provides policy direction to defense industries and enables co-production of advanced defense systems, as well as collaborative research, testing and prototyping of the technologies that will determine the future of military power. This essentially means that wherever there are permissions required, clearances required for security of information, security of IP, all that will be worked under this particular segment of the cooperation agreement. And then there are, of course, not very minor, but comparatively minor items or comparatively minor issues like the visa renewals for H-1B holders who probably some of them will be allowed or many of them will be allowed to renew their visas by remaining in America without traveling outside America and then trying to renew it from embassies across the world. 3 consulates each, new consulates are being opened on both sides. It will be in Bangalore and Ahmedabad as far as US is concerned. And India is going to open a consulate in Seattle for the first time and will be announcing 2 more in the US. And of course, there are these student exchanges and scholarships that will take place going forward. So all in all, university research, cultural property, historic aviation deal which have been done where Boeing and Airbus have both got big orders from Indian civil aviation sector. And of course, the trade issues about which there are a lot of differences between the two sides were discussed, and it was decided that finally it will be solutions will be found quickly so that both sides can get their bilateral trade to a newer scale, a higher scale than what it is right now. So of course the other items that would have been discussed were about Indian Ocean region, the Indo-Pacific, China's challenge, which never is articulated very clearly. But the bottom line is today India and US have come together in a transformative phase of their relationship thanks to China's belligerence, not just against India, but also China's belligerence across the globe and its contest with the United States, which has compelled democracies, forces of democracy to come together like India and US have come. So Prime Minister Modi and his team should go back highly satisfied about what they have achieved in this trip, a 3-4 day trip to US, and of course take it to the next level by implementing the items, the joint declarations expeditiously. The bureaucracies on both sides are obdurate, but with top-driven approach adopted by both sides, I think even the bureaucratic resistance, which normally is very strong, should be overcome for the benefit of people on both sides. I wanted to flag all these points, although I'm sure you've had saturation coverage from Indian newspapers and television channels, and how India is now the toast of the town in Washington, D.C. and other capitals of the globe. But this is my small take on what was important in that bilateral meetings, and how Prime Minister Modi received a huge welcome, a state dinner, a joint address to the Congress, and the overall raised stature of the Indian-American community because of the Prime Minister's leadership and his presence on the global stage. That's all I have this time. Do keep watching Strat News Global, and of course keep sending your feedback and comments. They're always welcome. And you know where to reach us through our social media platforms and through email, and of course on YouTube and other